In our first interview, Alex Vanover predicted that he would easily win all of DRL. He has come back to qualify his answer and let you know that DRL is more challenging than he expected. I am proud to announce today's sponsor, which is none other than Rotor Riot, specifically the Rotor Riot Hype Train motors. Johnny, tell us a little bit about them.
The Hype Train Vanover motor marks Hype Train's first race motor offering. Designed for absolute maximum racing performance, this motor is an exceptional choice for freestyle as well, taking a ton of abuse while staying smooth. Developed with the direct input of drone racing champion Alex Vanover, the Hype Train Vanover clocks in at 1860 kV, perfect for 6S pilots looking for a superb competition motor. With a state-of-the-art 2207.5 core, the Vanover motor has an incredible response time which allows you to fly precisely on the racetrack. It flies smooth and has a very predictable throttle curve. The motor core is made with single-strand heat-resistant copper windings. This motor configuration allows advanced pilots to run a lower DMAG setting, which results in increased power output and efficiency with reduced risk of desync. With these motors on your quad, you will not only have the fastest quad on the track, but also the best looking one. If you ask Alex, the navy blue belt cuts through the air faster than any other color.
So there you see, the Hype Train Vanover motors are no joke, and you can get your own with the code ROTOROLLINS. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. ROTOROLLINS gets you 10% off your next Hype Train purchase. Appreciate the sponsorship, Rotor Riot. Y'all keep making good content. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you the one, the only, the man who Nurk referred to as the virtuoso, Alex Vanover. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Dude, you know what? It has been an exciting few weeks.
Yep. It's been crazy. It was a few months ago now that we talked last, and so much has happened since then. And especially in the last few weeks, so much has been happening, as you know, in the FPV world. I mean, we had DRL airing levels 1 and 2. We've had the DJI system released. Everyone seems to be practicing really hard with the multi-GP qualifiers in place right now. I mean, there's so much happening in the whole drone community right now. So much excitement. So really glad that we get to sit down and get to talk about all these things and catch up as well. I'm really looking forward to this.
I'm super excited. So right now, let's put people in the timeline because this will come out in probably a couple weeks. You are about to go film the next 2 levels, correct?
Yes, correct. So we are going to film. We filmed levels 1 and 2, which everyone saw were in Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. So I don't know if I can disclose where the next 2 levels are, but I can say that we are about to go film levels 3 and 4. And then after that, we go to Phoenix, which everyone knows about because that's where Chase Field is. That's September 8th, the big live race that's happening. So we're doing that race there. So, and that race is really coming up as well. So we have all these, most of our season is about to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So it's absolutely crazy. And by the time this is probably out, it'll be right before Phoenix, I imagine, and we will have already filmed levels 3 and 4. So
how many levels are there?
This year there are, I believe, 7 levels. So we filmed 2 in Miami. We filmed 2 at this next location. We do 2 in Phoenix, and then the final one will be at a location that I don't think I can talk about yet, but it's really awesome.
Dude, I can't wait. And it was really awesome. I wasn't able to watch level 1 live, but level 2 I watched with Chad Capper and Drew Camden when my son and I went to Orlando. So we had you up on the screen. We were watching you, and it was dude. I think they knew what happened, but I didn't know what happened. They wouldn't tell me anything. It was exciting. That was some heads up racing there.
Oh my god, yeah.
So tell me, man. When we last talked, you were pretty cocksure that you were going to take it all.
Yeah.
I even think you said, I'd have to go back and look, that you expect to walk in there and win the whole thing. How are you feeling now?
In all honesty, I'm feeling really good still. But the biggest thing I will say is DRL is way harder than I predicted it would be, and we discussed this on the first podcast that you and I did, and on the Rollins show we discussed that based on skill level and based on how I compare to these other pilots outside of DRL. If you go off of the statistics, it should be a cakewalk, and that was how I felt going into that race. In fact, even after we did that show, I'm practicing with the Racer 4, and I'm feeling great. I'm spamming these guys with videos, trying to flex on everyone, and I'm just thinking there's no way that anyone's going to be able to touch me with this quad. And then lo and behold, you get to level 1, and semifinals was a cakewalk, actually. If they didn't show it on NBC, if you go watch the Twitter, I never lost a semifinal race, and I felt great. And then I get paired up in finals, which is what everyone saw on NBC. That's got Jet, it's got Gab, it's got Nurk, it's Willie, it's got Shaggy. And we do the first race there where I barely beat Jet. And I mean, I was very excited. But all of a sudden, if anyone who knows me well enough, I had friends of mine personally who aren't even into drone racing. They were texting me while it was happening saying, I can see a little bit of fear in your eyes. Like, I definitely gotten a little shaken up. And I was, because all of a sudden I had to push. I had to push really hard as I physically could fly that quad. And then I was barely beating people. And so it was... What I ended up seeing on top of all that, too, what people don't understand about DRL races is they're all filmed at night for the most part. So at level 1 and 2, we did both of them on the same night. So most people don't understand that. So what ended up happening is we're filming level 1 finals, and it's probably like 12. It's like midnight, 1 in the morning. And you're starting to get physically drained. And as the racing keeps getting more and more competitive, it starts taking a physical toll on you. And on top of that, being super competitive on a very, very hard track, which most people look at that track and think it's very easy. It was a very, very difficult track for a numerous amount of reasons, which we can talk about. Long story short, there's just all these factors about DRL that I didn't think about coming into it. We discussed it. I said, there's a good chance. We talked about the DRL courses being very different, and that is something that I addressed and said, I've flown all kinds of different courses. I'm ready. I've done well on the past. And I will say DRL courses are definitely, maybe not on paper, but definitely the most challenging racing tracks for racing drones that you can find out there for numerous different amounts of reasons. And all that just makes DRL way harder. I even told these guys halfway through, I'm like, I have a whole new respect for you guys and what you do. And I see why you focus all your time onto this and not multi-GP, because this is where the most competitive racing is. This is where the most fun is, but this is where it's the most serious as well, and there's the most at stake.
So tell me why. I mean, I personally would not look at those tracks and think they were easy. I in preparation for our interview today, which came up very, very suddenly, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I was watching level 1 and watched level 1 yesterday and watched level 2 today. And some of those obstacles are brutal. The swatch gate, I mean, that took people out.
Oh, yeah. And I was just about to say the swatch gate. The whole course itself, we started off with about a 100-yard sprint, full throttle, and the quads are all neck and neck. And that was another thing, too. I knew in the straightaways everyone would be hitting full throttle, but I didn't at the same time expect everyone to be at full throttle the entire race. So you start off the race, you go up that helix climb, which is basically an Immelman maneuver, and it was very difficult because you had to exit it with that strike in the top of the gate, and you had to exit it with a lot of forward momentum. It was a very difficult maneuver. The rest of the course I loved, and then you get to the swatch gate, right? And the swatch gate is very interesting because we get to see these courses on paper about a week or two before the race. So, like, I was trying to replicate some of the elements, but we didn't actually know for sure which way we'd be going through the swatch gate, whether it be diving, whether it be going up the swatch gate. I was preparing to go down the swatch gate, which if I had been smarter and actually looked at the diagram, that wouldn't have made sense because we go up and then back into the building, which is why I was always confusing myself before. I'm like, why would we dive it? So, that was part of my failure, was to not prepare for both circumstances. And also the track, sometimes they change slightly at the actual event due to like RF or weather or something like that, and that's what ended up happening there. So yeah, the swatch gate, it's not your normal dive. It's very, very thick and it's dark. So what ends up happening is you can't just seat up into it like a normal multi-GP style gate, which is basically flat. It doesn't really have any thickness to it. So you have to physically pull vertical through it. And that was one of those elements where experience in DRL definitely showed. You could see Gab, Jet, and Nurk especially had the fastest line through that gate. That being said, I never crashed at that gate. I never did.
Well,
In fact, and I slowed down a lot to make sure that wouldn't happen. I knew I was stronger than these guys in the other parts of the track, but I would slow down there because I knew that I always told myself it's like you're playing a card game or you're placing your chips on the table, and I knew in some of those circumstances if I could get ahead of Jet, Gab, and Nurk good enough, I knew on that end of the second lap on every race they'd have one chance to pass me and to be at that swatch gate. And they knew it. They knew that was my weakness. And 50-50 it seemed like they crashed there. So,
it took out Gab so many times. And, it was funny because the announcers made a really big deal about you pulling up and slowing down for the swatch gate.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, we can hear at that race the commentators, Craig Hummer and Tony Knittel, pretty much next to us, which, according to some of the other DRL guys, was kind of a luxury because we can't have spotters up there. So we're basically going off of sound and the reactions of the other guys. So in this case, they're watching the live feed. They're doing most of their commentary right there. And so I would hear them say Vanover pulling away in the stadium dive, and I knew, okay, we'll really slow down into the swatch gate. And then I'd hear Gab trying to make a move, and I said, okay, we can't slow down as much, right? That was a big, big help. But yes, so many people were taking themselves out at that swatch gate. It's a very, very tricky maneuver that I know how to prepare for. And yeah, the course was very difficult. It was a very, very difficult track. A lot of hard 90-degree turns, a lot of vertical elements, which I knew coming in that there would be. But I guess I wasn't prepared for the scale. I mean, you can't get that experience until you actually race in DRL, right? Where you're diving over a state. Like, you go to watch a football game or a basketball game or a baseball game, it doesn't matter, and you're standing high up in the bleachers, just like the grasp of how high up you are and how far it is to get down to from there to the field. That's what we're doing with our racing drones, and it's crazy. It's so much fun. Like, the course was insanely fun, but it's very stressful in the circumstances that you don't really know how to prepare for it. Now I do, to a certain extent, but until you actually get there and do it, you have no idea what to expect. And that was kind of back to the whole cockiness coming into it, which is, I'm going to smoke these guys. Yeah, it's a DRL track, but whatever. And there's going to be different styles of DRL tracks throughout the season as well, which that course definitely was not my forte. Very wide open. Anyone who knows me knows that I can fly a heavy quad or a light quad through a technical track really fast. On a fast track where you only get a few chances to pass, it makes it a lot more difficult, but it also makes it more entertaining as well.
Well, it was, that last, the last race of level 2 was so freaking exciting. Take me, and I'm sure you don't want to relive it, but, but take me through, like, where, like, Nurk just, it was basically like Nurk took that one, because let's stop for a second. The format has changed. Okay. You have to take first in one of the previous 6 heats to make it into the 7th heat.
Yeah, so basically, in semifinals, which if you watch the Twitter stream, you'll see, semifinals, you have to win 2 of the 6 heats to get to the finals. Otherwise, you're forced into sudden death. So, and when you're in the finals, there's 6 pilots, 6 heats. You win one of those, you get to go to the finals, right? In theory, if you win all 6 heats, there is no golden heat. You are that level winner. I was really trying to do that in level 1, and I was halfway there, too. I actually have had the longest win streak in any DRL race ever, actually, in my first level, which is awesome. But level 2 finals, I've replayed this heat. Probably not just like physically watched it, because we actually get to see the line cuts before the show airs. I've rewatched my DVR and everything probably 25 to 30 times now. Like, anyone who knows me well enough knows that I lose gracefully. I'm always humble in victory or defeat, but regardless, I go home and I replay that loss or that victory in my head over and over again. And I make myself learn from it, cry or smile for a day and then get back to the training, learn what you can do different. And in that final race, I really was happy when Nub crashed, because I knew Nub could go as fast as me if he could keep it in the air. So when he crashed, I had a pretty good confidence boost. In the heat before the finals, I just destroyed Nurk and Nub. Like, they were flying their best. I was flying my best. I came into there. I'm like, guys, let's get into this golden heat. Let's do this right now. That confidence can kill sometimes. And I got in there, and I really wasn't expecting Nurk to pull a very fast swatch gate the first lap. That's where he caught me, was on the first lap. That was the first time I saw him that golden heat. And I didn't panic because I'd had the same exact ordeal with Jet and Gab, and they would usually crash out, or I'd be able to catch them. And then I had a faster helix climb. I got back in front of Nurk. I wasn't worried. He somehow creeped in front of me going to the stadium dive. I took the most fast stadium dive of both levels, completely turned blind, like very, very lucky actually. And I got back ahead of him, and we came to the swatch gate, and the last thing I saw as I'm about to come up the swatch gate is just green LEDs, and I panicked. And I like pulled back, like, whoa, and then sunk up through it. Well, he also panicked, but he got through it first. So we both entered the stadium at the same time. The difference was I saw that he was ahead of me. So I took the tighter line, which got me ahead of him, but then he had the faster exit, which meant that final stretch, I replayed that final stretch, because keep in mind, too, that final stretch, there's nothing you can do. I was right on, but you're pegged. There's nothing you can do. And that last 5 seconds, I can hear him physically sitting over here to my right. He's already going, let's go! Like, and I'm just sitting there so depressed, like, come on. I was like, please, like a prop explode or something on his quad and let me take this win. Or like, whatever. And, but he earned it. I have to give him credit, because you always give credit where credit's due. I did this to Evan at Nationals. I mean, Nurk in this case, he flew the swatch gate 2 times really fast. And the second time, he knew it was his last try to pass me. He knew my turn into the stadium would be quick, like completely blind, faster than any other pilot. Mm-hmm. And he took it, and not only did he take it, but he startled me when I was going to take the same line up. I knew I had it. I knew I had it saved. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Don't show all your cards until the final. And I went for it, and I just got startled by his LEDs. He came in that thing completely blind. I still think it was luck. I think luck was definitely on his side at that point, because I've seen him and Gab and Jet smack that thing doing the same line a million times already. So, but luck was in his favor, and in racing, that's sometimes what goes to play. And that was the one element that, coming back to training, I've been making myself do, is basically replicating those gates and some of those hard elements. But that was a great heat. I watched that back, and it gets me excited, even though I already know what happens, because it was such good racing. And that's what makes DRL so hard but so amazing at the same time, is that it is so physically draining. Like Nurk and I both, and Nurk in level 2, when he won, he like laid down. He was so physically drained. And in level 1, I did the same thing. It's just, it physically drains you more than anything else. And if you're flying a quad that really is slower than what we would race in a 5-inch, but it's just more stressful racing. It's a blast. And that was a good heat that I will never forget, and carry on to the next race.
So, I think the best, probably the funniest moment out of level 1 and level 2 was once Nurk finally took level 2. You are on camera and you say, good job, oh, it hurts. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah. Like I said, I replayed those like 3 minutes. In level 1 and level 2, I replayed those minutes like a movie in my head, audio and everything. I mean, I know the physical feeling of Nurk's sweaty body too, coming over and giving me a hug. Like it's all great and nasty. I mean, yeah, I know the feeling now of what it's like to win in DRL, and then I know the feeling of what it's like to come just ever so short. And while it was a great race, it was fun, it still sucks. In fact, it didn't really suck at the time of when I lost, because I was still happy. I knew I got second. I knew I'd have the most seasonal points. But I really thought I was going to win that, and it started to bite me probably like an hour later as we're on the shuttle bus back to the hotel. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, why did I let him? Because both of our times in that final were not our fastest times, whereas in level 1 finals, I set the lap record at the time. Mm-hmm. So for me, I really had to go back and study and see, obviously he flew a great race, but I didn't fly my best race. It was one thing if he flew his best race and then I flew my best and I came short, which would actually be even worse. In this case, I said, okay, well, we clearly made some mistakes, and rewatching the DVR and everything, I think I think part of the reason I was making little mistakes across the track, like I was going too high in the helix climb. I wasn't hugging some of the lines as tight. I turned it up when I needed to, but that was on the second lap where I should have been turning it up the whole. Like in level 1 Golden Heat, I sent it so hard that first lap. I was not going to let Jet. I wanted Jet and Gab to crash out immediately, trying to catch me.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the reason that DRL is hard and that level 2 Golden Heat went the way it was is. Nurk was definitely more efficient over the night. He said this once before to me. He's like, each DRL race is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And he had more energy throughout the night, especially at 5 in the morning, than I did. I mean, even it took a toll on all the pilots. I mean, Jet wasn't in the final because he was so mentally fatigued after level 1. I mean, Gab, the same thing, not getting into that. I thought Gab was going to be in that Golden Heat for sure. Which I was really thankful he wasn't because he's very fast. But it's really hard, and I think Nurk did the best job managing that. That's actually one of the lessons. It's a few days before our next event. And, for example, this morning I slept until 1 p.m., and last night I didn't go to bed till like 3 a.m. So I've started to put myself in this cycle of staying up late and just making that my awake and focus period and doing everything I can to keep myself like that.
That's actually something that came out of my interview with Nurk is he puts himself onto a different cycle when it comes to racing at night, because I think you're right. Like you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's an exhaustion that comes from the level of effort it takes mentally to focus on any given race. And that effort is probably compounded 150 times at 5 a.m.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, coming off of level 1 Golden Heat, I was just physically drained. I put all my effort into that race, right? I had to. It wasn't like I knew I had to save some for later. I mean, I had Jet and Gab pushing me the entire race. So we did that. We had about a 30, 40-minute break, and then we filmed semifinals and finals of level 2. Yeah. And through semifinals, I was very... they haven't shown that on Twitter yet, and they didn't show it on NBC. I was just kind of rocky. They showed one clip on the NBC show of me launching and hitting like the ground immediately. I was mentally not in it. I just couldn't bring myself to focus. I was tired. I actually started drinking any type of energy drink and lots of sugar as much as I could to try and get myself ready. But yeah, absolutely. DRL takes so much out of you physically. And now going forward, we're probably not going to have that much racing where it's that close together. They had to film levels 1 and 2 due to some time frames and everything like that. So for the next few races, we're lucky they're supposed to space it out a little bit more. But I'll be ready for if they don't, just in case, because that's what you have to do. That's what makes Nurk, Jet, and Gab probably the best at DRL, is that they're ready for all those outcomes at any time. And they're ready to be in that Golden Heat and push it as hard as they can.
It takes a lot for somebody to go back on what they say. And Alex has gone back and said, you know what? I still think I'm going to win. But this was a whole heck of a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I think that shows an interesting character on Alex's part. But in the next interview, the next segment of the interview, we get into, is Alex arrogant? And I think you're going to be surprised at his answer. I'd like to thank Road Riot for sponsoring the show today. It is really awesome to have them as a sponsor, and quite frankly, it was a lot of fun to make this particular Johnny Ive-esque read. I'd also like to thank my patrons. You can follow me on Patreon, find the link below. My patrons and my sponsors make all of this possible. So I'd like to thank you all, and I hope that you guys have a good day. Bye.